Hey everyone, Daryl here. In this video, I'm going to outline a play that I took recently and how me and my team were able to net anywhere between 3 to 10% into a play in the matter of a couple of weeks. So the stock in question is Boeing stock, and I'm going to go over both the fundamentals and the technicals with this stock and show you guys how I was able to enter a very high probability play so that you guys can pretty much take this into your own trading and investing journeys and replicate this as you guys pretty much continue along in your journeys. So the stock in question is Boeing stock. Boeing stock on September 13th, Friday, pretty much announced 33,000 Boeing union members begun their strike, right? This strike, as you guys have probably read the headlines that was going on, was ongoing for the past couple of weeks. The fact of the matter is, I understood that the strikes typically for Boeing last anywhere between 1 to 2 months. But the fact of the matter was, it is a temporary thing, right? So a current headwind that is going to be a tailwind in the future, right? I, as a value investor, take advantage of that volatility in the stock market because I understood that the stock was just very inherently undervalued. And I first did that by looking at some of the valuation metrics. So pretty much this is Boeing stock on marketdash.io. I pretty much wanted to look at some of its valuation metrics. The stock at that time was trading at historical price to sales, right? Price to earnings generally used for other mature companies. Price to sales is used typically for manufacturing companies. And as you can see here, this is even after the rally, but the stock was currently trading at historical low price to sales, right? I looked at the company's Wall Street estimates and understood that even during the strike, all the Wall Street targets were roughly around $200, right? Average price being roughly around $200 allowed me understanding that we had about a 26% upside, or even I would consider that a margin of safety, and limited downside because of how low we were on the trend line, right? So I want to take a look into Boeing's technicals and show you guys how I was able to identify a lot of weakening sellers and pretty much buyers pretty much overtaking the sellers in the future. So this is Boeing stock right here, and I pretty much identified this falling wedge here, right? In any stock, I pretty much want to get an overview of the company, right? I had a stock that was trading as much as $460 all the way trading down to the 160s, right? So a significant retracement, pretty much sitting at multi-year lows. Understanding this, I pretty much will take a zoomed in approach, but observe the overall trend here. In the overall trend, I identified a falling wedge, right over here, and pretty much around these prices, around this 154 area, I was identify multiple divergences as well as pretty much sitting at significant retracement and a trend line support that what allowed me to pretty much enter into the play, and with patience was able to profit significant returns off of this play. So once again, we have the trend line right over here. Stock around this time was trading at this lower trend line. Understanding that, I initiated my first entry into the position roughly around this time right here, right? We were at trend line support. We were sitting in an area of demand. Sitting in an area of demand was, if I just drew an area of demand roughly around this 154 area. I just wanted to show you guys on the grand scheme of things where we were currently sitting on. So if you guys take a zoomed out approach, this orange box is pretty much an area of demand here. You can see every time we got roughly around that area, yes, there's moments where it fell down, and it eventually did, but pretty much long-term support, long-term area of demand, right? So number one, I was sitting in an area of demand to pretty much enter into my initial position. We were at the lower trend line right over here. And I want you guys to focus into the RSI down here. So let me just clear this so you guys can get a better look of the price action here. As you can see here, I want you guys to focus on this candle and then all the candles going down lower, right? You see a lowering of the price action, lowering of the stock, but I want you guys to focus now into the RSI, right? So the RSI right over here was pointing up versus this one pointing down. That is an RSI divergence, right? RSI typically, when a stock falls down, will get more and more oversold. But what you're seeing in this case is the RSI going up, right? That shows weakening of the buyers, suggesting a potential trend change. So understanding that, I was also identify a MACD divergence. So let me get rid of this RSI indicator right here and go over the MACD. So the MACD, also a momentum oscillator, pretty much will give me an idea of potential trend changes through divergences, right? So same thing here. You saw price action go lower, but essentially right over here, RSI was going up, right? So you saw a pretty much a crossover in the signal line for the MACD in this blue line here, as well as the MACD divergences. So I'm getting two different things. I'm getting the MACD divergence. I'm getting both, and as well as the RSI divergence. Two huge technical indicators suggesting a potential reversal and weakening of sellers, right? So let me erase this here. So sitting around this area, we were able to identify multiple divergences to suggest a reversal change. We were at a lower trend line support, and we're pretty much sitting in an area of demand, also at essentially deep retracement, right? I want to be purchasing stocks anywhere between this golden ratio as well as this deep retracement. Roughly around this area, we were approaching that 0.786 retracement, and we pretty much got there to the T before it reversed. But I essentially didn't want to miss the ride. We were at a trendline support. I found divergences, so I entered into my initial position. I saw a further sell-off from the position, pretty much capitulated events that's going on with the stock, and I was able to dollar cost average into this play and then net significant gains off of the knowing just inherently that the strike was pretty much a temporary thing, and it was just pretty much any day now that they were going to announce the news and we're going to get a 3, 5, 6% pop off from current valuations. One more thing I wanted to point out. So this was that trend line support that I was talking about. All the way from 2020 right here. I connected to this point right here and simply extended it, right? A simple extension of it shows, hey, support, support, support. Right around this area was likely support. It jumped off from that support, but eventually fell down further just because they announced further bad news, such as a pre-announcement of their earnings, which was expected that it was going to be rather poor, right? There's a production halt that's going along with the strikes. They pretty much realized a lot of the charges that were against them, right? The whole controversies that's going on with the doors, all those lawsuits, they pretty much realized those losses, and they pretty much needed to raise money in the form of stocks and debt securities to pretty much being able to operate their business, right? And pretty much not get into a issue with their debt, right? The whole issue during this time was, hey, there might be a Moody's downgrade into Boeing's debt, right? Boeing, it carries a significant amount of debt, and it was an issue of whether Boeing could afford that debt, right? But like I said, every single time it gets into a huge issue, into some huge capitulated event, I'm talking about October 2022, I'm talking about that COVID low. Every single time I got into that area, it found support, and here we are in present day. I played it objectively, and I was able to net significant gains. And I'm going to show you guys a screenshot right over here, as well as the beginning of the video. So yeah, once again, recap of the stock. I pretty much did a Fibonacci from essentially, let me show you guys once again. From this low all the way to this high, and we had a 0.786 retracement. We were at very deep retracement. Every single time you get into this deep retracement area, you can see support roughly around that area. We were sitting at an area of demand. We were pretty much had two very strong divergences in the RSI and the MACD, and we were at both trend line supports, right? You're at this lower trend line of this falling wedge, as well as the trend line support from May 2020 all the way into present day. So hopefully that was able to help you guys out. I want you guys to use a lot of this knowledge and be able to play the stock market in a very objective manner. Don't let emotions get in your way. Do not give into fear. Do not give into FUD, and play the stock, right? Understand some of the fundamentals that go along with the company and use the combination of those two to pretty much get yourself very, very low risk to very high reward gains. Do this multiple times a year, and you're able to pretty much generate generational wealth for you and your family.